Hi guys, thank you so much for coming to this webinar. My name is Samir Muhammad, and I'm the speaker today. And I am the CIO and SharePoint principal at AQL Technologies. I have 20 years of IT experience implementing SharePoint since 2003. And below is my contact information: LinkedIn, Twitter. Please send me a LinkedIn or Twitter. I would love to get connected with you guys. So once again, thank you so much for coming to this webinar. A little about AQL Technologies. We are Microsoft Gold partners and Microsoft SharePoint Deployment Planning Services partner. Also, we've been around since 2006, and we are focused on SharePoint and Office 365. With that being said, I'm just going to jump right to the webinar, which is Demystifying Office 365 Groups, SharePoint Modern and Communication Sites. So this is a pretty, so there's a lot of things involved over here, which includes Office 365 Groups, Modern Team Sites, Modern Communication Sites. I'm going to try covering a little bit on Modern UI as well, as much as I can, and then talk about differences between team and communication sites. So this session is loaded with a lot of information, and down the line, I'm going to talk about the other webinars that I'm going to be doing in the next month or so, in which I'm going to be choosing one specific topic and then dig in details on that specific topic only. So right now, this is a primer to a lot of webinars which is coming down the line. So today's agenda, talk about Office 365 groups. What are they? Demo of the groups and teams, how to manage them, and Microsoft Teams, team sites demo, communication sites demo, team sites versus communication sites, modern versus classic UI. So let's get started with groups. So what really are groups? So groups is nothing but, so Office 365 groups are nothing but a service that works with all Office 365 tools. You can choose to set up people and easily set up collaboration. You can easily set up a collection of Office 365 tools for them to create. And in a second, I'm going to talk about what these Office 365 tools are. But Office 365 groups let you incorporate collaboration, communication, scheduling, project management, all in no time. You can actually crank up all these services, which I'm referring as Office 365 tools within no time. And they provide new and improved experience for distribution list or shared mailbox. So back in the days where distribution list or shared mailboxes, so groups is more like a new experience for that as well. So here's another snapshot of how groups is Office 365 groups is more kind of like a fabric spread across the entire SKUs of Office 365. You're going to see, so you can see that any people that you add to Office 365 groups, they have instant membership to all different SKUs, maybe Outlook, OneDrive, OneNote, Calendar, Skype, Teams, Delve, Yammer, Dynamics 365, Planner. So they just have our Teams, if I didn't say that before. So they have membership to all of these different services. Office 365 groups are sitting in Azure Active Directory. That's where they are really sitting. And other than the Office 365 tools, you can also connect groups to other apps as well using connectors. So let's get started with a demo over here. So I'm going to put a proposal team, which we usually do at AQL for an Office 365 implementation or a SharePoint implementation. And the team, this is how it's going to look like. Proposal team, it's going to include business development executive, Sam Erkart, marketing exec, Riz Tishrif, sales exec, Donna Carden, SharePoint principal, Samir Muhammad, which is me, account manager, Zach, SharePoint architect, Imran. So I'm gonna set up a group, an Office 365 group for all these different resources working on all these different departments to come together and start working. So to start with, I'm gonna go to the SharePoint homepage. And if you have not been to the SharePoint homepage recently, then just click on SharePoint link up in the top over here. It's really easy. It takes you to the SharePoint homepage. This is the place from where you can actually create sites and groups. Actually, I'm going to start with my Outlook. I'm going to start creating a group right with Outlook itself. And when I log into Outlook, down at the bottom, I see this group section over here, which shows me a list of all the groups that I have access to. In here, I'm going to go ahead and create a brand new group. And this group is going to be, about this new proposal that we're trying to put together for, for McDonald's. And right when I start creating this group, it creates an email address associated with this group. So which means that now this Office 365 is capable of sending and receiving emails. And I also have a choice of what kind of group it is. Is it a public group? Is it a private group? And I'm going to choose this. I'm going to make this as a private group. There's the options send all group conversations and events to member inboxes. They can start following this group later if they want, which I'm okay with. Hit on create. And now this is the place where I add members. So try bringing all those members together. Search the directory, and it's going to bring me Sam Eckhart right here. Where's Tashrif? Add in Donna. Zach Merchant. And finally, the SharePoint principal. Actually, the SharePoint architect, Imran Ahmed. So what I just did here is that I just created a basic group. I just created a group and then just added a whole bunch of members in there. And on my left-hand side, I can actually see, it takes a little time at times, but I can actually see a list of all the members. So this is my Outlook interface for Office 365 views. I can see the list of all the views over here, sales McDonald's right there. And what I want to point over here is that even though I just created a group by the name McDonald's, but it added a prefix by the name sales. This is because there's a certain naming policy that I can set and add prefix and suffix, and I choose to add sales as a prefix for every single group that has been created. And up in the top, let's go ahead and talk about this Office 365 groups interface from Outlook. So up in the top, I see all the members, and I can click on members right here, and then it's going to show me a list of all the members which are part of this Office 365 group. Got it. And it shows me all owners and guests. Click on owners, and it's just me. I'm the owner. Click on guests, and there are no guests because guests are actually external members who are external to Office 365. This can be a Yahoo, this can be a Google, this can be a completely non-Office 365 email address. I can include those non-Office 365 email addresses to this group, and they have limited access to a lot of things that all the other groups can see, all the other group members can see. Go back to all, and then these are the list of the group members that I have. And it tells me over here that this is a private group. Click on settings, and this pretty much shows me any connectors, and these connectors can be, if I want to go ahead and connect this Office 365 group to even external services like Google Calendar or to Wunderlist and stuff like that. Now let's talk about these options up in the top. Conversations, files, calendars. Click on conversations, and it takes me back to all the emails which are shared within this group. So any groups, any emails which are for this groups, I can see for this Office 365 group, I can see all of them in here. When you click on files, now this is pretty interesting. When you click on files, it actually shows me an interface where I can go ahead and upload documents. So click on upload, and it actually takes me to a whole bunch of documents that I have, and let's just say that I have a marketing plan that I want to upload. I have seen this fail at times, and the primary reason being that some of the services behind the scenes are still being created by Office 365. And that's why it actually takes a little time. We're going to come back to this in a second. I'm going to jump over to the calendar and then show you a shared calendar geared completely towards this Office 365 group. So members of this Office 365 group can actually have their own shared calendar, and which is really nice. I really like it. So it didn't actually upload the file. It might be because behind the scenes it's still trying to create some of these resources. So click on Notepad, click on this ellipse over here, and then you're gonna see some of these other Office 365 tools which has been created. So it's still setting up the notebook for this group. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to jump over to an existing group that I have created in the past and show you what's happening behind the scenes. So instead of uploading files to Sales McDonald's, I'm going to upload files to Sales for AbbVie, and click on Upload, and just go ahead and click on Marketing Plan. And here's a marketing plan which has been uploaded. So you can see that I don't have to go to a SharePoint interface to go ahead and start sharing files. For those people who are not savvy with SharePoint, they don't want to deal with SharePoint, they can do things right from Outlook itself. Outlook provides this awesome interface for this specific group where I can go ahead and start uploading documents and then sharing those documents within no time at all. And if I click on Notepad over here, then it's going to open up OneNote, which has been created when this group was created. So as soon as the group is created, bam, within no time behind the scenes, Office 365 cranks up all these different services, and I'll talk about all those different services, what are those services in a lot more detail in the next slide. But it cranks up all these different resources, Office 365 tools that the users can start using if they want to. And here's the Sales for AbbVie notebook. I click on this over here, and then I can see the list of all the notebooks, and I can see that there's a notebook specifically created for my group Sales for AbbVie. I see that Sales McDonald's notebook has also been created. This is a group that I had just created. And let's see again. I'm going to jump over. Sorry, there's a lot of windows over here. I'm going to jump back to Sales McDonald's here, hoping that, okay, so it's actually uploaded that, so which means that all the other dependent services behind this Office 365 groups has already been created. I'm going to jump over to sites here, and I'm going to show you what these sites are. So this is a site which has been created behind the scenes when the group was created. And this is a modern theme site. It's a modern site. Again, it's a modern theme site, but it's of course a modern site, and it's got modern pages, and it's got modern lists and libraries. It's got the entire modern UI experience, which I just love the modern UI experience. And over here, if I click on Conversations, it's going to take me back to the Outlook group. So which means that even if I start from the team side, I can just go back right into Office 365 groups. Hit on back. And go back to the modern theme site. And also I want to show you over here documents. So you might have seen that I was uploading documents from the Outlook interface. And I can show that to you again. So this is where, so when I was in Sales McDonald's, I had actually uploaded this document marketing plan. And even though it almost seems like, magically it's being saved right within Outlook itself, but behind the scenes, it's really being uploaded over to the documents library. And so which means that the team sites now become the center point of all the document storage. And now I'm going to jump over to Microsoft Teams as well. I can download Teams, but I just chose to open up Teams in the browser. And when I open up Teams over here, let's just go ahead and refresh this because I don't see my Sales for McDonald's Office 365 group here. So I'm just going to go ahead and refresh my Teams screen, hoping that by now Office 365 has created associated Teams also. But actually over here, I have to manually go ahead and create a team and associate with Office 365. So apologies, it does not create a team out of the box over here. So I need to choose, create the team, and I need to choose from which Office 365 group I have to create a team. So I'm going to choose Sales McDonald's over here, and I'm going to say that, hey, you know what, we're starting a brand new project and there's going to be a lot of conversations going on. So I want to go ahead and create a team specifically for McDonald's over here. And all the chat, all the conversations, everything's going to be happening right here, because a lot of the times, other than Teams, other than Outlook, a lot of people, they like to collaborate, they like to communicate, they like to upload documents right from Microsoft Teams itself. So this gives me another interface where I can go ahead and start uploading documents. So there are channels in Teams, and I can, by default, when you create an Office 365 team, in Microsoft Teams, it creates the general channel. I can go ahead and create several different channels over here, and so this could just be a marketing channel, or I could just go ahead and create a proposal channel, technical proposal channel. So I'm basically just creating different channels in Teams. And if I end up uploading documents from here, and I'm going to try doing that, so when I click on this channel, it takes me to a similar interface that I saw with Outlook groups as well, where I see conversations, where I see files, where I see Wiki, and then there are other sources. So I'm going to click on files, and then I'll try uploading a marketing document here, and then see what happens. So click on a marketing plan. I think I might have already done that, but I'm doing that again. But this time I'm actually doing it from Microsoft Teams. And go back to technical proposal and upload a document from here as well. Might be for managed services. The file is being uploaded. And so pretty much I uploaded one file from the marketing channel, and I uploaded another file from the technical proposal channel. Now, I want to see where these files are really being stored. So I'm going to go back to my team site. And this was the document library. And I'm going to refresh this document library, and let's see what I get. So SharePoint, the entire Office 365, groups is smart enough to go ahead and make the documents library over here as a center point for all the documents which are being uploaded from all different interfaces, maybe from Outlook, maybe from Teams, maybe from any other place. And if I go in the marketing folder over here, then I see that this is the marketing plan document that I just created. Go back to that I just uploaded. The technical proposal, and I see that this is the document which was uploaded from Microsoft Teams for the technical proposal. So now you can see how unified, the Office 365 is. Now I begin to appreciate the value of Office 365 in actually bringing all these resources together. Also, one very important thing that I want to show you here is site permissions in the Teams. One thing different about the modern Teams sites is that they are associated directly with their hand in glove with Office 365 groups. So if I go to these SharePoint security groups, to the members, I can see that this is the Sales McDonald's Office 365 group. Click on it, and then it just has this federated link. But this is actually, and it's got the email address. So, but this is the Office 365 group. So, which means that all the members, any members that have been added to Sales McDonald's Office 365 group, now have access to this McDonald's team site. Also, if you go to site settings, you're going to be surprised that you don't see a delete option over here. There used to be a delete option here. So they actually moved it that to the site info. And just talking about how integrated Office 365 groups are with, so if I go to site info, I'm going to see delete sites over here. Now, be very careful when you delete the site, because right when you delete the site, it tells you very clearly that this will delete all Sales McDonald's resources, including the site, the files, the conversations, the calendar, the planner. I haven't showed you planner yet, but the planner, the OneNote, and everything. So pretty much the thing is that any resources which were cranked up when creating the Office 365 group will be deleted when you delete the Microsoft Teams site as well. So a real quick overview of the planner here is it actually creates this planner as well. And then now within planner, you can go ahead and start associating tasks. Talk about tasks, talk about how, you want, sorry, oops. So this is, this is one of, this is the planner, Sales McDonald's. So even though I have not created this planner plan, but it has been cranked up automatically by Office 365 when I created the group. And you can go ahead and just start entering, tasks over here. I'm just going to switch to Sales for Abby because there are a little bit of a few tasks over here that we can mess around with. So there are a lot of tasks over here assigned to, different resources. Maybe Samir, maybe, Donna, maybe Imran, maybe Zach, and so depending on maybe Riz. So there are a lot of tasks assigned over here. And once you enter these tasks, it's pretty cool that you can actually, group them by assigned to over here, and then all of a sudden, you're using all these different resources just by creating Office 365 group. And these are all the tasks which have been assigned by the user. Assigned to Donna Carden, assigned to Imran, assigned to Riz, assigned to Sam, assigned to Samir. And all these users are actually from several different departments now collaborating all of a sudden, within no time using all these different services. Sorry. So sorry about that. I keep switching windows here. So I think that this is actually the beauty of, of just, able to just crank up Office 365 groups. So the question is that, what's happening behind the scenes? Behind the scenes, Office 365 groups work with Azure Active Directory. The groups feature you get depends on which Azure Active Directory subscription you have. Also, we have seen that there are two different types of groups, private and public group. Even though the private groups are, even though it says private, but private groups are not hidden, people can discover the private groups, but they need approval to be added to the private group. But the public groups just discover the group and then just go ahead and find it. So behind the scenes, when you create an Office 365 group, Exchange Online, generates a mailbox for it. This gives the group an email address to send and receive emails through Outlook and enable the membership of groups to communicate using email as a conversation mechanism. So, I think that this is just great. It does a lot of things, within no time. There's also a classification of these groups. I can pretty much just go ahead and classify these groups. Right now, there's no classification, just as private, but I can go ahead and classify these groups as high, low, medium, or any kind of classification that I have. And down the line, all these groups can be summed together depending on the classification that they have. So let's go ahead and talk about what kind of groups. So as I mentioned, I can create groups from several different Office 365 tools. I can create a group from Yammer. I can create tools from Mail, Planner, Stream, SharePoint, Teams, and pretty much every single Microsoft Dynamics CRM. So I can actually create groups, Office 365 groups from all these different services. And that's where it got really complex as to, hey, what happens when you actually create groups from one Office 365 SKU versus a different Office 365 SKU. And you can actually see that. So I tried, creating this infographic to make things easier. When I created an Office 365 group from Yammer, It does not create me team chat. It does not create me Outlook email inbox like it just did. It does not create me a shared calendar, but it creates me Power BI workspace, planner, SharePoint site, OneNote notebook, Yammer feed, stream video portal. If I create a group from mail, which I just did, I just created a group from Outlook mail or from planner or from SharePoint or from stream, then it actually cranks up all these different services. Remember, it did not create me a team chat. I had to go ahead and explicitly create a group from Office 365 or explicitly create a team in Microsoft Teams from Office 365 group. It does not even create me a Yammer feed, but it creates me everything else. When I created from Teams sites itself, from Microsoft Teams itself, then it actually creates me everything. It creates me team chat, Outlook email inbox, Power BI workspace, Outlook calendar, planner, site, OneNote notebook, stream video portal, but it does not create me a Yammer feed. So you can actually see very clearly what's happening over here. Also, if I create an Outlook, if I create a group from planner, then by default it's public. But if I create a group from Teams, by default it's private. So I think that this infographic does this purpose of just making, just showing you on a broader scale what's happening when you crank up these groups from, depending on the SKU that you're creating. So the question is that, usually I get this question, hey, Samir, where to really create the group from? So which group you want really depends on what functionality you need. If you want a group geared towards SharePoint emails and SharePoint calendar, then Outlook groups is the way to go. If you need a group for communication with the entire organization, then Yammer might be the way to go. If it's rated with a more private chat conversation, then might as well, start the group from a Microsoft team itself. So this infographic is going to help you understand where to create the group from. Benefits of some of these groups. For IT, it's self-service. Users end up creating self-service groups. Group identity and assets are created in a single step. They are centrally managed in Azure Active Directory. Simplified permissions and access structure. Guest access without complex configuration. Dynamic membership, group activity report. So there's an awesome report like a group activity report, and it actually shows you everything. This is actually on the level of the tenant, and it actually shows you everything which is happening within the group itself. I mean, what are the users doing, which is the most active group in the past 7, 10, 20 days, and within the past month. It shows you a lot of activity about the group itself so that you know what's happening within a group. Benefits for end users, as you have seen, just get started instantaneously and use anywhere in the Office platform. That is, creating a group automatically enables messaging, shared calendar, team site, planner, and automatically assigns permissions to all these resources, dynamically add users. So they are public by default, which enables users to discover and join your groups easily. Private groups provide the flexibility to control access to your group, easy to manage, new members onboard quickly, data classification. So there are a lot of benefits for actually using these groups. So I got a question here. Can anyone create dynamic membership in groups? So here's the thing. So as far as, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. So as far as dynamic membership is concerned, not everybody can create dynamic memberships, but it can only be created by the tenant admin. So there are policies for dynamic membership, and dynamic membership basically means that depending on the user attributes, I want a whole bunch of users to be added automatically to an Office 365 group. So yes, that's possible, but the end user cannot do it. It's got to be done by the tenant admin, and plus it requires Azure Active Directory, Premium Plan 1 subscription. You cannot do that in the free Azure Active Directory that you get. Who can create Office 365 groups? Who can create? So pretty much, so these are three different, so by default anybody can create it, but there are three primary models of provisioning in Office 365 groups. Open, IT-led, and control each has its own advantages. Open is basically all users can create their own groups as needed without needing to wait for or bother IT. This is the default behavior, kind of like what I just did. IT-led is Users request a group from IT and IT creates them. Admin will restrict group creation to only IT and no one else. And this has to be done by PowerShell. Finally, control group creation restricted to specific people, team, or services. Admin will restrict group creation to a set of people. And again, this has to be done using PowerShell. So group management features, and these features, some of these features can be, done by end users, others by admin. But soft delete and restore, naming policy, files, quota, expiration policies, ban words and profanity checking, group activity reports, assign group permissions, add or remove external members, add members and admins, set as public, private, dynamic memberships, and default classifications. So there's a lot that can be done. There's a soft delete over here. And by the way, I just want to show you one other thing, which is in the groups, which is I can go ahead and the users can go ahead and actually the admin can go ahead and specify, blocking certain keywords. So if I actually, so when I created, to start with, when I created McDonald's, it actually prefixed me sales. The reason being that I have certain naming policies which are actually specified and on the tenant level, and I can show you this tenant setting over here. So this is on the SharePoint tenant level. Under Exchange, I can go ahead and specify a certain policy, naming policy. So what I'm saying is that for any group which is created, just prefix sales. I can go ahead and do it. There's a lot of different options. I can specify attributes over here, dynamic attributes, and depending on that, I can have a certain prefix added to the group. This just gives me more kind of like better manageability. Also on the block words, I can block certain words. Like in this case, I have these 3 words which are blocked, Samir Muhammad. And again, this on the tenant level. So I'm going to go ahead and try creating a brand new group over here by the name Samir Muhammad. And it tells me right off the bat that the name cannot contain Samir Muhammad. So I can block, any words that I might have and stop the users from creating groups, using those words. Like popular ones might be CEO, IT, I don't know, hubs. So with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about modern theme sites. So we briefly touched base about modern theme sites when we just created the Office 365 groups. And you have seen how Office 365 groups go hand in hand with Microsoft, theme sites. To start with, the most basic thing is that what is a modern theme site? Use SharePoint Home to create modern sites. They bring all your sites together. So you got to go to the SharePoint Home page to create a modern theme site. If you go to any other page, like if you try creating a sub-site with modern, if you want to create a sub-site with modern theme site, you cannot do that. SharePoint doesn't let you do that. You have to go to the SharePoint homepage to do it, and I can show you in a second how you do that. So this is my SharePoint homepage. Click on SharePoint, and it pretty much takes you, so right up in the top, anywhere where you see SharePoint, just click on it, and then it's going to take you to the SharePoint homepage. This is my SharePoint homepage, and up in the top, I see Create Site. You got to be here to create modern sites, either team sites or communication sites. They have to be right from here. And when I'm here, I click on Team Sites, and from here, I go ahead and create a certain team sites, which is SharePoint Conference. Chicago 2018, which is actually in December. Or actually, I'm going to just go ahead and enter something a little more sooner, which is Washington, D.C. And this is where, and if you guys are planning to stop by at SharePoint Fest in Washington, D.C., guys, then, just make sure that you stop by at our booth. We're going to be there. You're going to be one of the sponsors there, so please stop by the booth. Click on Next, and this just basically creates me a team site. Add additional owners. I'm not really creating any owners right now. So this should pretty much be it. that in there. It's actually cranking up the site behind the scenes and owners, and it probably might take a little bit of time here. I'm just gonna jump over to, I think I already have another team site over here. Just jump on that. And then we're gonna come back and see if, okay, oops. So, so this is the SharePoint Fest 2018 Washington, D.C. team site that I created in the past. This is not the one that I just created. This was the one that I created in the past. And so pretty much the whole thing being that, hey, you know what, this is a team site. It's got modern UI. Again, it's got modern lists, modern libraries and everything. And there's a lot that actually can be done in these. But again, these are hand in glove with the Office 365 groups itself. So the question that I get a lot is that, hey, what exactly is a team site, man? I know you just showed me a team site, but I mean, what can I do with these modern team sites? So we have had classic team sites for quite some time. So this kind of like, you know, builds up right on the classic team sites itself, you know, on the idea of the team site itself, where where people are coming together to collaborate on tasks. So you can actually have like a whole big bunch of tasks over here, and then you're planning to get something done. So let's say that you're working on a project and you and your colleagues need a place to collaborate, you know, deliverables, assign and manage tasks, you know, then team site is a way to go. Also, one of the things is that team sites and all the modern sites, which include site collections, which includes communication sites, as well as team sites, these are site collections. These are just not sites. These are just not your regular sites, but these are site collections. Both today and in the future, each team will get its own site collection. So be ready to end up with a lot of site collections. Deleting a group deletes the team site as well. So if I just go ahead and click on site permissions here and click on delete site here, then, you know, as I've shown you this in the past, then it pretty much deletes all the resources which are associated with this modern team site. Click on delete and it just takes some time, but then it just clears off everything. Also, the thing is that it's got a few web parts that I'm going to go ahead and refresh my page here. It's got a few web parts so click on sales for AbbVie, something that we have created that I've created in the past. And so it's got a lot of web parts over here. It's got a completely different, you know, publishing model. You know, of course, it's not as in-depth as the classic publishing model, but it's got this modern experience, modern pages that I've been talking about, and I'll talk about more of that in a second. I'm going to jump over to communication sites, and I'm going to cover the web parts. All the web parts that exist in here also exist in the communication site, so I'm going to cover all of that with the communication sites. So welcome to communication sites, guys. And, you know, so what is a modern communication site? You know, it's to share news, reports, statuses, and other information in a visually compelling format. That's a word, visually compelling format. And let's go ahead and take a look at what really is happening in this visually compelling format. So let's go ahead and do a demo of the communication site. Again, it needs to be created right from the SharePoint page itself. You cannot create a communication site from anywhere else except for the SharePoint page. It comes with a couple of different flavors, and which is topic, showcase, and blank. So let's get started with communication sites and push this down. So here's the communication site that I've created. And this communication site is a perfect example of how you can actually showcase, you know, yourself to your customers using a communication site. To start with, it's got to be from the SharePoint homepage. Click on the communication site, and this is where you get to choose topic, showcase, or blank. These are the three different designs that you get, and topic is going to be SharePoint 2019. Okay. and click on finish. And while this happens, I want to go ahead and create another communication site, which is Showcase. Take advantage of the latency. And so here I have a second group, which is a second site, which is created from Showcase. The first one is created from topics. And let's go ahead and take a look at what I get from these. So the different sites. So topic is a template designed to present large amount of information, such as news, events, and other content. When you choose the topic design, you get a home page that includes several different web parts. The web parts included by default are the hero web part right here. Sorry. So the hero part right here, and then you get a news web part, and then an events web part, and a highlight and content web part. So let's go ahead and try editing this and take a look at really what I get over here. So this is what you call the hero web part. Click on this icon over here, and then this lets you choose between the layouts. You have the option of tiles versus the layers layout. You choose layers, the whole design just spreads across the entire page. So, you know, it looks pretty handy. It's all about the image and it's all about the design. Right now, I have the tiles, and I have 5 tiles associated with it. I can have 4, I can have 3, I can have 2, I can have 1 tile. And now, depending on these tiles, I can customize every single tile. Click on this edit icon over here, and then it lets me upload a custom image, and it also lets me specify text over here. Specify text right here. I'm sorry, the text is actually, the image is right here, and the text is right here. So the text is right here, and then the image is right here. So I can go ahead and specify that for all of these different tiles and kind of like move them around, you know, which is pretty handy. You know, I like this. You know, it's perfect for showcasing something that you have. And the second web part that follows right after that is the news web part. So this is a news web part. You know, you end up creating news articles here, and these news articles get posted. You can see them on the SharePoint homepage as well. Events is just nothing but it connects to, you know, good old SharePoint calendar. You can just have good old SharePoint calendar sitting right over here, and just display events over here. And then there's a highlighted contents web part. And pretty much the thing is that you select the contents you want to highlight and how you want it displayed. So use a filter to narrow your selection. And then finally, there's a quick links and then a people profile. So I'm going to switch over real fast to a template that I already have, and then, you know, which is to showcase some of the services that HL Technologies offers. And so this is up in the top. If I click on edit, then I can actually see, takes a little bit of time, but I can actually see that I have certain web parts over here that I've been using. And these are the image web parts. All of these are the image web parts here. Down at the bottom, I'm using this charts here. So to display technologies we're involved with, I'm using a pie chart. I can have, this one is a column chart. This is the employees by job title, years of experience by industry. Some SharePoint conferences that we've been part of recently. SharePoint Saturday, SharePoint Fest, SharePoint Tech, some of the training sessions, you know, speaking sessions that I've had at the conferences. The events, what kind of events do I have? So I can go ahead and just specify, you know, like, for example, we're going to be there at North America Collaboration Summit in Missouri on March 2nd, SharePoint Fest, Washington, D.C., March 22nd, SharePoint Saturday, Chicago, March 5th. So any events that I have, you know, I can just throw all of them in there. Any kind of templates that I have, maybe for customizations, project plan, migration templates, all of that is in there. News article, we just did our 10th SharePoint 2003 migration. We are so happy about that. AQL staffing services that we provide. AQL is now part of the dynamic Microsoft, is actually part of Microsoft SharePoint deployment planning services. And AQL and Microsoft has renewed gold partnership for AQL technologies. So these are some of these events news that have been created. On the right-hand side, I see the Twitter web part. And I can, so this is all out of the box. Down at the bottom, I have this nice and beautiful, Bing calendar, which, all right, so nice and beautiful Bing calendar, which just showcases where we are, AQL technologies, right, in the cross section of Des Plaines and Park Ridge. So overall, I think that I'm happy with this web part that I have, and I'm sorry, with the site that I have, just does this purpose of just displaying, all beautiful information about, about the employees and everything. The sad part is that let's talk about, things that I don't really like, in here, which is, and I can actually use communication site for governance and training, travel, teams, policies and procedures, new corporate initiatives, resources, organizational achievements, kind of like what I just showed you and stuff like that. But the sad part is that, this comes with its own disadvantages. You might have seen that all this information that I was just punching into my website here, that's all static, and that information goes stale. So for the most part, it's all manual. As of right now, there's pretty limited branding as well, and I'm gonna, cover a lot of those things right now with modern UI as well. One of the things with modern team sites versus communication sites is that what is the difference? And I get this question a lot, Samir. What is the basic difference between a team site and a communication site? And I think that this picture actually defines a lot of things. A team site is basically where all the work is being done. If you're preparing for a race, it's behind the counter and typically private, collaboration that needs to be done. All the planning needs to be done. It can actually be displayed right here. Okay. Whereas a communication site is where the victory showcased. After you win the race, this is where the victory showcased. This is where all the customers can see it. Also, in a team site, all members are content authors who jointly create and edit the content. Whereas in communication site, there's a small number of content authors and a much larger number of content readers or consumers. Also, the communication site does not come with an Office 365 group, unlike the team site. So I think that, this is the primary difference between these two. This is the last topic that I'm going to cover in the session today. And this topic in itself is pretty, it's very, in-depth topic, the modern UI. So what is the modern UI? And there's a love and hate relationship with the modern UI. People don't like it, but people who have been used to modern UI in SharePoint, they just love it. So what's up with the modern UI? So SharePoint Online has started the gradual introduction of modern experience across the SharePoint services. This impacts not only end user experience, but also the customization option. And what I mean by the customization option is that, it's just that the modern UI just doesn't look different, but behind the scenes coding is also different for them. So if you have a branding solution, which was actually working towards your older or the classic UI, then all of that has actually changed now. With the new modern UI, the customizations are different and they are very limited as of right now. The modern experience in SharePoint includes the modern sites, which includes the communication and team sites. Modern lists and libraries, I gotta strike out the teams from there. Modern lists and libraries and modern site pages. So let's go ahead and take a quick demo of what exactly do I mean by these modern sites. And I think we might have seen that, but we're gonna go back and take a look at it again. So if I just crank open, any team sites over here, over here, this is a modern UI, and modern, as I said, modern site, modern pages, modern UI. It's got these lists and libraries. So So I'm just going to open up the documents, like for example. I just love this. You know, I can just go ahead and maximize the columns, minimize the columns in the modern UI experience of lists and libraries. If I have any kind of documents, like if this is a document that I'm interested in, then I can just check mark this document and then just pin it to the top. I can just pin this document right to the top. I can just pin this document right to the top. You know, so, you know, you don't really see this in the classic experience. Also, the modern lists and libraries are associated directly with Flow, and if this was a list, then with Power Apps also. You would not see, excuse me, you would not see Flow or Power App associated with the classic UI. So also, as for Microsoft, they are not deprecating the classic experience, but classic and the modern experience will coexist. And also, you can control how these customizations are applied at the tenant or the site level. Also, if you are using existing customizations on the classic theme sites, you should differ using the new experience until the required customization options are available. But that pretty much means that, hey, you know what? We don't really have a lot of support for customizing this modern UI right now. You know, even though these modern UIs are rock solid with responsive experience, you can actually access them right from the web. You know, but the thing is that, you know, there's a lot of things, you know, which just cannot be done as of right now. And the most amount of branding that can be done right now to these modern sites is just themes. You know, you can just go ahead and change the look and feel, change the look and feel about the themes, and might be custom themes, but there is no support for custom master pages right now. And Microsoft just released, which was just last month or the beginning of this month, I believe, they just released the feature of creating custom site, you know, custom site designs for the modern sites. So which means that now, kind of like feature stapling, you can just go ahead and as soon as a site is created, you know, if you want a certain list and libraries to be created programmatically behind the scenes, that's possible. So that's the custom site design feature to crank up a site as you want it. That has just been released. I believe it's just the beginning of this month. Also, the thing is that, you know, the publishing feature is not supported. So if you have a publishing feature that's not supported, like in the classic sites, you can still go ahead and enable the publishing feature, but that's not supported by Microsoft. And custom actions are very limited, and custom JavaScript is not supported as of right now. So these sites are known as no-code sites. The modern sites are known as the no-code sites. There is no JavaScript that you can, there's no content interpret part. You cannot really enter JavaScript code unless using PowerShell behind the scenes. There's some tweaking done to enable JavaScript, but if that's not done, then JavaScript, these are known as no-code sites. And finally, the thing is that on the list and library sites, you know, even the alternate CSS is not supported. So alternate CSS is a way of branding, even that's not supported. And custom, as I said, custom JavaScript embedded via user actions is not supported as well. So, you know, in brief, you know, this is rock solid. There's a lot of things that can actually be done. This is the custom actions. This is what I mean by custom actions. You can still do this, but if you want to go ahead and use the JavaScript, you know, script tag, then you cannot do it. So even the customizations is very limited when it comes down to user actions within the modern branding. More modern branding, converting existing sites to modern theme sites. Existing sites cannot be converted to modern theme sites as of right now, but Microsoft is saying that they're just working on a certain solution where you can convert an existing classic theme site to modern. I haven't seen that though. But you can start using modern experience in the classic sites. Modern list and libraries usage can be controlled at the tenant site, web, and list library settings. All right, I think that my PowerPoint just crashed right when I was about to end it. But give me 1 second, it's just cranking up. I know we got 4 more minutes. I can keep answering some of the questions. I see that there are a few questions here. What permissions does a user need to be able to create groups? By default, there are no permissions. Everybody can just go ahead and create groups by default. But the thing is that down the line, if you want to go ahead and restrict permissions, then using PowerShell, administrators can restrict permissions so that only a specific set of security groups, only members of a specific security group can create, Office 365 groups. Okay, so I think my PowerPoint just start again. Let's go all the way down. So I think, so modern lists and libraries usage can be controlled at the tenant, site, web, and list library settings. Yes, the modern settings can be controlled on the tenant, site, web, and list library settings. Classic SharePoint sites use modern pages for any newly added pages. But Microsoft recommends not to use classic web parts with modern pages. SharePoint Modern Experience support for on-premises, currently not available for SharePoint on-prem. I think that in SharePoint 2016 is when, it's going to be, when Microsoft is going to release support for modern UI. Finally, I think that we're almost out of time. We have webinars every 3 to 4 weeks. The next one is going to be a much deeper dive into Office 365 groups. After that, I'm going to talk. The next one is going to be modern versus classic UI. I think that these topics deserve like an hour session by themselves because, even the modern and classic UI differences are so much. There is so much going on behind the scenes that, they just deserve like an hour in themselves. Modern theme sites versus communication sites, definitely I would like to do that also. SharePoint Hub sites is being released the second quarter of 2018, I believe, but I would definitely like to go ahead and share some information on how those sub-sites would work when they're released. Power Apps, I do a lot of Power Apps session. I do a lot of speaking on Power Apps in all conferences all over the country. SharePoint pre-migration check and house cleanup. I have talked a lot about the importance of pre-migration check and house cleanup as well. And finally, security and compliance within Office 365. So these are some of the webinars that are going to be following up. If you stop by at any of these conferences, along with a lot of SharePoint status guys, please stop by our booth. We are sponsors. We are gold sponsors at all of these conferences, most of these conferences. And hey, by the way, I almost forgot. We're going to be giving out one free pass, one conference free pass for Washington, D.C., for SharePoint Saturday, for SharePoint Fest Seattle as well. So please, so you're going to get an email. All you got to do is just register. We're going to choose a lucky winner. Whoever wins, we're going to give you a free pass to attend these conferences. So I think we're out of time, guys. Thank you so much for attending my session. I did get a lot of questions here. I just haven't had time to answer those questions. I just have 1 more minute, and I see another question over here. Can non-Office 365 users be added to Office 365 groups? Yes, non-Office 365. So this is what I was talking about, guests. When you have this guests, the guest part of Office 365, you can actually have users be added right to the guest section itself. And when you have users added to the guest section, these users are known as external users, and these are non-Microsoft users. These are from Google, these are from Yahoo, these are from Gmail. They might have a little bit of different experience, but yes, they can be added. So with that being said, thank you so much, guys. You're going to get a recording of this session. And thank you so much for attending the session. Please leave me a feedback. That helps me improve myself. That helps me improve on the topics that people want to listen to. So please definitely leave me a feedback. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Bye.